Edward L. Bernays, you're the father of public relations. What led you, more than 60 years ago, to see the need for public relations?
I was a member of the United States Committee on Public Information in World War I, and I worked with the committee to make this, the war to end all wars, which was Wilson's idea, and the war to make the world safe for democracy, and to popularize throughout the world the 14 points. And I found that ideas were weapons and were even more effective than bullets. Ideas could be as important weapons as anything. And first, I called what we did publicity direction. I would direct the conduct of people so that they could win through ideas their public goals. And soon I found out that I could give advice and a person could win his or her goals, whether it was to become an elected official, or whether to become the head of a corporation, or whether to sell ideas or a product. The name of what we did, from publicity direction to counsel, which I took from lawyers, advice on public relations, which really means on their relationships with the public. And since everything in our society depends on the consent of other people than ourselves, it obviously was a field that would help people win their social goals. And I added the word social because I was not going to do this for the Ku Klux Klan or the Birch Society or Mr. Hitler, who asked me to work with him, or Mr. Somoza of Central America, or Mr. Franco of Spain, because I didn't think they fulfilled a social activity. Well, very soon after we did that, I decided that in order to get recognition for this concept, I should write a book on what it was all about, and I wrote Crystallizing Public Opinion.
So you taught the first course in public relations and wrote the first
book.
Textbook in public relations. Is that concept, engineering of public consent, that's your concept, and that's based on the Thomas Jefferson principle?
That in a democratic society like our own, the consent of the public is basic to anyone's meeting his or her social goals.
Do you also believe that the consent of the public is basic for corporate goals too?
Well, obviously, if it's good for an individual, it's equally good for a corporation, and it's equally good for a hospital, or it's equally good for a child welfare institution, or it's equally good for a mental institution. And one reason why it is so important is that in the United States, every idea that wants to establish itself, whether it's to sell more paper cups that we work with, or to make people more honest or more virtuous, depends on public consent. And so we worked out the engineering of consent, which applies to any social goal.
I would like to hear some anecdotes that you have to tell about advising United States presidents. You have advised presidents from Coolidge to Eisenhower. Can you tell what some of their problems were and how you helped count?
In one case, in the case of Coolidge, I was called up, and Arthur Woods, who was police commissioner of New York at that time, and who married one of J. Pierpont Morgan's daughters, he was the wealthiest man in the country, called me up and said, "We would like to retain your services." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Calvin Coolidge is concerned that a remark made by Alice Roosevelt Longworth, who was the daughter of President Theodore Roosevelt, would ruin his attempt to become President of the United States." He had an interim position because Harding had died, and he was president in the remainder of his term after his death. So they engaged my services, and I wondered what I could do to change the impression made by the words, "Coolidge was weaned on a pickle."
That was a problem. What did you do?
And so I decided that at that time, actors and actresses did not quite belong to a family home or a family party, and I decided that if President Coolidge had breakfast with Al Jolson and the Dolly sisters, who were ecstasiastic dancers, and Charlotte Greenwood and other actors and actresses, the public would recognize that he was an extraordinary humanist kind of personality. Mr. Coolidge was elected President of the United States, and I have a letter from him hanging on my wall.
Do you suppose most world leaders are advised by public relation councils today?
Yes.
Why is that important?
It's basically important because people power rules every country, including Russia. There are 431 different ideas aiming at you every day to do something different from what you did the day before. You wake up in the morning, and if you listen to radio, you hear the advertisements. You hear them now even on non-profit radio. You go downstairs and you open the television and you get a tax on you to buy one kind of breakfast food and then a tax to buy another, or to buy one kind of motor car and then another. You go out on the street and see a taxi cab advertising a local theater that's competing with each other, with another. You talk to a friend and he tells you not to use caffeine, but to use decaffeinated coffee. And there are 431 ideas. Oh, you look at the newspaper, and there are about 330 ads. One tells you to buy at this store, another at that, another tells you to go to a health club, another health club tells you to go to that. And here you are with 431 ideas. The way to achieve that is to practice what I call the engineering of consent of the public, towards achieving your social goal. The psychologists have shown that people only accept in what they read what they a priori believe, that they accept nothing that they don't already believe, and that the only way to gain belief is first through research to find out whether they respond to authority, to reason, to persuasion, or to tradition. When I came back to the United States, I decided that if you could use propaganda for war, you could certainly use it for peace. And propaganda got to be a bad word because of the Germans using it. So what I did was to try to find some other words. So we found the word Council on Public Relations.
Bernays returned to New York and set up as a public relations counsel in a small office off Broadway. It was the first time the term had ever been used. Since the end of the 19th century, America had become a mass industrial society, with millions clustered together in the cities. Bernays was determined to find a way to manage and alter the way these new crowds thought and felt. Bernays set out to experiment with the minds of the popular classes. His most dramatic experiment was to persuade women to smoke. At that time, there was a taboo against women smoking, and one of his early clients, George Hill, the president of the American Tobacco Corporation, asked Bernays to find a way of breaking it.
He said, we're losing half of our market because men have invoked a taboo against women smoking in public. Can you do anything about that? I said, let me think about it. And then I said, have I your permission to see a psychoanalyst to find out what cigarettes mean to women? He said, what'll it cost? So I called up Dr. Brill, A.A. Brill, who was a leading psychoanalyst in New York at that time.
How come you didn't call your uncle? Why didn't you call your uncle?
Because he was in Vienna.
A.A. Brill was one of the first psychoanalysts in America. And for a large fee, he told Bernays that cigarettes were a symbol of the penis and of male sexual power. He told Bernays that if he could find a way to connect cigarettes with the idea of challenging male power, then women would smoke, because then they would have their own penises. Every year, New York held an Easter Day parade to which thousands came, and Bernays decided to stage an event there. He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
He knew this would be an outcry, and he knew that all of the photographers would be there to capture this moment. And so he was ready with a phrase, which was torches of freedom. And so here you have a symbol, women, young women, debutantes, smoking a cigarette in public with a phrase that means anybody who believes in this kind of equality pretty much has to support them in the ensuing debate about this, because torches of freedom.
The Second World War caused enormous destruction and left large parts of the world in ruins. That's why the United Nations was established with one main target: to prevent war in the future. The UN is a meeting point where leaders from all around the world can interact. In the UN, countries try to agree on which rules and agreements should apply in the world. The most important topics of discussion in the UN are peace and security, human rights, and sustainable development. The Sustainable Development Goals is the United Nations global agenda to end poverty, fight inequality, and combat climate change by 2030. There are 17 goals and 169 targets. The agenda serves as a joint roadmap for all the countries in the world. One of the main principles of the Sustainable Development Goals is to leave no one behind. The most vulnerable should be given priority. In the UN General Assembly, all countries, small and large, have one vote and the same say. All member states are committed to follow the Constitution of the United Nations, the UN Charter, where peace and human rights are central topics. The most powerful organ of the UN is the Security Council. It's in charge of maintaining peace and security between nations. The Council has 15 members, 5 of which are permanent, and the remaining 10 members are elected for 2-year terms. Even though the UN is the most important organization working for world peace today, it also receives criticism for its shortcomings in the face of modern-day conflicts. Many argue that the organization needs to change to remain important in the future. The UN General Secretary has called for major reforms of the organization. Several member states have supported change to maintain world peace in years to come. No matter how you look at it, the UN is one of the most important meeting points in the world, as well as an arena for international cooperation. Even though the UN isn't perfect, it is the best we've got, and all nations must work together to take care of our world.
Антироссийской политики Запад перешел всякую грань. Мы постоянно слышим угрозы в адрес нашей страны, нашего народа.
Thank you very much. Please be seated, Mr. Secretary. Thank you very much. Tonight we are a country awakened to danger and called to defend freedom. Our grief has turned to anger, and anger to resolution. Whether we bring our enemies to justice or bring justice to our enemies, justice will be done.
Обстоятельства требуют от нас решительных и незамедлительных действий. Народные республики Донбасса обратились к России с просьбой о помощи.
All of this was brought upon us in a single day, and night fell on a different world, a world where freedom itself is under attack. Americans have many questions tonight. Americans are asking, who attacked our country? The evidence we have gathered all points to a collection of loosely affiliated terrorist organizations known as Al-Qaeda.
Некоторые безответственные политики на Западе не только говорят о планах по организации поставок в Украине дальнобойных наступательных вооружений, систем, которые позволят наносить удары по Крыму, другим регионам России.
Indicted for bombing American embassies in Tanzania and Kenya and responsible for bombing the USS Cole. Al-Qaeda is to terror what the mafia is to crime, but its goal is not making money. Its goal is remaking the world and imposing its radical beliefs on people everywhere.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима.
Through existing governments in many Muslim countries, such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. They want to drive Israel out of the Middle East. They want to drive Christians and Jews out of vast regions of Asia and Africa. These terrorists kill not merely to end lives, but to disrupt and end a way of life. With every atrocity, they hope that America grows fearful, retreating from the world and forsaking our friends.
В ход пошел и ядерный шантаж. Речь идет не только о поощряемых Западом обстрелах Запорожской атомной электростанции, что грозит атомной катастрофой, но и о высказываниях некоторых высокопоставленных представителей ведущих государств НАТО о возможности и допустимости применения против России оружия массового поражения, ядерного оружия.
We have seen their kind before. They are the heirs of all the murderous ideologies of the 20th century. By sacrificing human life to serve their radical visions, by abandoning every value except the will to power, they follow in the path of fascism, Nazism, and totalitarianism.
Дает себе такие заявления в отношении России. Хочу напомнить, что наша страна также располагает различными средствами поражения, а по отдельным компонентам и более современными, чем у стран НАТО. И при угрозе территориальной целостности нашей страны для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства.
El expresidente de la Asamblea General de la ONU, John Ashe, fue detenido hoy acusado de aceptar sobornos de más de $1 millón. A cambio, el diplomático de Antigua y Barbuda habría influido desde su cargo en favor de empresarios chinos, una trama por la que han sido arrestadas otras 5 personas. La acusación la anunció el fiscal federal estadounidense Preet Bharara, que aseguró que si los cargos se demuestran, confirmarán que el cáncer de la corrupción que afecta a demasiados gobiernos locales y estatales infecta también a las Naciones Unidas. Según las autoridades, Ashe se embolsó presuntamente al menos $1,3 millones a cambio de apoyar los intereses de empresarios chinos, principalmente los del magnate de la construcción Lapseng. Este pagó supuestamente $500 000 a Ashe para que impulsase la construcción de un centro de conferencias de las Naciones Unidas en el territorio chino de Macao. Entre otras cosas, Ashe escribió al secretario general de las Naciones Unidas, Ban Ki-moon, respaldando la puesta en marcha de ese centro, un proyecto valorado en miles de millones de dólares y en manos de Lapseng, según la Fiscalía. Ban, a través de su portavoz, declaró su sorpresa y preocupación ante la acusación y dijo que son sus primeras noticias sobre el caso. El actual presidente de la Asamblea General, Mogens Lykketoft, dijo que, de confirmarse, el escándalo supondría un ataque en el corazón de la integridad de las Naciones Unidas y rechazó la corrupción.
La corrupción no tiene sitio en las Naciones Unidas ni en ningún otro lugar.
Se estima que en total el diplomático ingresó entre 2012 y 2014 más de $3 millones procedentes del extranjero en 2 cuentas bancarias en Estados Unidos supuestamente vinculadas a su presidencia de la Asamblea. Estos presuntos sobornos habrían sido facilitados por varias personas, que también han sido arrestadas, entre ellas el diplomático dominicano Francis Lorenzo. Lorenzo estaría supuestamente a sueldo de la PSEN a través de una ONG que le abonaba un sueldo mensual de $20.000 y que envió pagos a una empresa dominicana vinculada con él. El portavoz de Ban recordó que el presidente de la Asamblea es un cargo político que no rinde cuentas ante el secretario general y dijo que en caso de que se le solicite, la institución cooperará con las autoridades estadounidenses.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway. 75. I'm distressed to hear about the latest suicide bombers in Israel. For those who yearn for peace in the Middle East, for those in the Arab lands, for those in Europe, for those all around the world who yearn for peace, we must do everything we possibly can to stop the terror. There are a few killers who want to stop the peace process that we have started, and we must not let them. For the sake of humanity, for the sake of the Palestinians who suffer, for the sake of the Israelis who are under attack, we must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
All right, you need another. Our new student. You right? What? Trying to be talked out of the mug.
See you at church.
Go broke.
Go woke, go broke, she said.
Destruction of private property. It's against the law.
Somebody gets raped by somebody and they're like, I'm a 16-year-old and I can't have this baby. Think you should keep it?
It's a baby.
Yeah.
If someone is raped and she gave birth and she decided to kill her 3-year-old child.
To the bottom of that. It could be AIDS.
What makes you think she has AIDS?
The way her husband used to be.
So you think Bill had AIDS?
Yes.
So how did Bill Clinton get AIDS?
Probably messing around with Magic Johnson.
That's the natural conclusion?
Yeah.
Do you identify as black? No, it's a serious question because you might not identify. Can you please put the mic? Thank you. Okay.
When I walked into the room,
I am not done with my question.
Oh, young lady.
I'm just asking you to listen to me while
and I'm about to answer your first question.
But I didn't finish my question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm black.
He's a Muslim. He has a Muslim father. That's his background. And he reads the Quran.
You talked about him going to Reverend Wright's church for 20 years.
Yes.
But now you also think he's a Muslim.
Well, he is a Muslim. His father was a Muslim, his father was an atheist, and his father was a communist.
Was his father a Muslim or was his father an atheist?
He's all three.
Yeah, he called us with updates. Yeah.
Okay, it's supposed to say no to socialism.
It does say no to socialism.
But you didn't spell it right.
What?
It's not spelled right.
Do you have a marker?
No.
Oh.
Wait, what is socialism?
There is a definition. I can look it up really quick. Let me get the definition for you.
Tell me just in principle. Don't tell me the dictionary.
Okay, so socialism, it's basically like the views of Hitler. It's the in-between, it's like between communism and, I don't know what the other word is, but it's like the median between two views, between communism and another view, but I don't know exactly what that is.
It's just, this country's just full of idiots.
The things he says about women and like the racism.
Like what?
Too many things. Yeah.
He does not support other races.
He's got too much money.
I actually think they're trying to take it from the richest 1% in this country and give it to you.
I don't care what people can do for me. I only care what's good for the economy.
He's very homophobic and he's racist, and he's just fear-mongering.
Are you working with a group? You've got a UAW sign right there.
Donald Trump has accused me of whatever. No, I do not. Yes, I am union.
It's important to believe in, to have respect for everyone's religion.
So you respect Christianity?
I do.
Judaism?
Yes.
Islam?
No.
Do you think a gay couple should have the same rights as a...
No, I don't. I really don't. I don't think it's fair.
To the gay couple?
Well, no, but the regular couple, they work so hard, and the gay couple, they want more.
When you say more, do you mean equal?
Yeah, they want equal.
This establishment is not black-owned, but you're stealing black culture. Is this not black culture? Trap tea, the boba plug? No, you're thieves. Asian people stealing black culture once again. It's okay, you'll be exposed though. You're not black owned. You're stealing black culture. You're stealing black culture. No, I came here because I thought it was black owned. That's why I came here. I told my friends I'm supporting a black business. This is not black owned. This is not black owned. Asians stealing black culture. Once again, you're a coon. Don't talk.
I'm a coon.
I came here because I didn't know it was black owned.
You already spent money on them.
I already did. But
I'm tired of people.
Because you're a coon.
I looked into his eyes and I see evil. I see 666 in his eyeballs. That's what I see. He's really popular. And how does someone come from nowhere and become that popular? Same thing happened with Hitler. I think he hates all people. I think he just wants to destroy. I think he wants to destroy this earth.
My very first thought.
You're being racist. You're being racist. Check your privilege. Check your privilege.
The dude whose window was broken. He's the one accusing the young man. He's the one accusing the young man. He's the one that accused the young man, right?
What?
Him?
What?
He just
What?
came over here and told
Just because
us.
your window's broken, you just gonna get mad at us?
It was you? Oh, okay.
Do you know when the U.S. was founded?
No.
Take a guess. Around when?
Probably like, I don't know, like 1901.
Yes. Very good.
It is?
It was close around there, but I'll give it to you. Who fought in the Civil War?
I don't know.
Do you know how many continents there are? No.
Go home, Nazi! Go home, Nazi!
We're Nazis. He'll whoop your ass, smoke glue any day, boy.
I don't hate you. I don't hate you. You're in the street, sir.
Stay out of the road. Clear the road.
Thank you very much. I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated
My fellow Americans and the people who brought me the dance, Delawareans.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. Have to get together.
And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify.
Working together, we will begin the urgent task of rebuilding our nation.
And to make America respected around the world again. And to unite us here at home. It's the honor of my lifetime that so many millions of Americans have voted for that vision.
We have a great economic plan. We will double our growth and have the strongest economy anywhere in the world. At the same time, we will get along with all other nations, willing to get along with us.
Well, folks, we stand at an inflection point. We have an opportunity to defeat despair, to build a nation of prosperity and purpose. We can do it. I know we can.
We're going to dream of things for our country, and beautiful things, and successful things once again.
And now together, on eagle's wings, we embark on the work that God and history have called upon us to do. With full hearts and steady hands, with faith in America and in each other, with love of country, a thirst for justice. Let us be the nation that we know we can be.
And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job. We will do a great job.